Good evening to you, Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com, here with your hurricane outlook and discussion, talking about Tropical Storm Barry this evening, about 9:24 Eastern Time, 8:24 Central. And let's take a look at the latest here, before I start on Barry, of the sea surface temperature anomalies that updated today. This is pretty remarkable. Look at what's happening here in the Atlantic, how warm overall the tropical Atlantic is up here in the subtropics even, but the North Atlantic up here is cold relative to average, and we're losing that El Nino still. We have a long hurricane season ahead of us. This is just July, folks, and when I see something like this, all that very warm water relative to average and the fading El Nino in the Pacific, that tells me, plus the West Pacific's dead. This is just the start. All right, so real quick, a wide shot of the Atlantic Basin. I want to draw your attention to this. This is Invest Area 93L, making a run at trying to become a tropical depression, but there's just too much dry air around. But look, it's got that banding look to it, that S shape overall. It's trying. There's definitely a large envelope of energy sitting out here associated with that system. It's just climatology is not on its side, and so it won't develop very much before the dry atmosphere, relatively speaking, takes over and thwarts its development. So this tropical wave here, rather meek in its appearance, but it does have some energy, and this will move through the Windward Islands over the next few days. And so Barbados to the southwest of there, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Trinidad, Tobago, you guys could be looking at, if this moves through this area, an increase in moisture and a wind shift, etc., as this goes by. And then look, there's another tropical wave coming off of Africa. It's not going to be long, and then these will start to develop one way or another. And then, of course, this is Barry. Barry, the disheveled tropical storm. If we look at the close-up of it, man, I mean, it is really struggling. Yesterday the discussion said that the models are showing a very favorable environment, all of the global models, but it's not. It's just like, what changed? Well, there's a couple things to note. I mean, you can see the really healthy outflow on the south side of this thing. The air is fanning out, but there's this dry air that's stuck in here, and then you got the strong northerly winds coming down. You can see that very easily. And so it's just pushing the tops off of those thunderstorms that are trying to develop near the center of circulation, which is pretty easy to pick out. Generally speaking, somewhere in here seems to be the center. It's not far from the southeast part of Louisiana, for goodness sakes. But you see a lot of upward motion, the bubbling of the atmosphere through here, this one tail over on the west side. It'll be interesting to see if this ever is able to ramp up and develop any strong banding on the north side. That would bring very heavy rainfall, severe weather probably. You'll see a lot of lightning with that. There's still time for this to do some intensification, and I don't know exactly where the center of circulation is. It's hard to say. It's probably pretty elongated in here, but it's definitely disorganized, and so the chances of it becoming a hurricane, and maybe not as good as before, but that's just a name, a label. I mean, it matters a little bit. The biggest thing that matters is the overall impact, and again, that is going to be excessive rainfall for this area through here over the next few days, and we can take a look at that in just a moment. I'll show you the rainfall chart. There's the vorticity signature with it. It's nice and round, no doubt about it, but the wind shear coming in from the north. In fact, I can back this up, and let's look at the wind shear, and you can see that. We'll get this on here. So it's the anticyclone. There's just a tiny little area of green and favorability, but overall the wind is too strong out of the north, and it's pushing the convection away. And Barry is just not situated in the right area of the upper level anticyclone that helps that air evacuate, which is good for coastal residents, that it's not going to likely ramp up very much. All right, so here is the quantitative precipitation forecast at QPF from collaboration of the National Weather Service, the WPC Weather Prediction Center, all part of NOAA, etc. And I am going to use blue since they're not using blue. So look, everything in this orange color that I'm going to outline here in blue is probably going to, 6 to 10 inches of rain, more than a half a foot. Here's a trivia question for you. I'm going to draw it in blue. What is this? Come on, you know what that is. It comes through here and empties into New Orleans. That is the Mississippi River. And there are lots of tributaries that feed the Mississippi River. This is part of the Mississippi River Basin, the Mississippi Valley as it's called. So 6 to 10 inches of rain falling over thousands of square miles of the Mississippi River Basin. So, count your blessings that this is not, of course people are, I'm just reminding you that this isn't ramping up to, some strong hurricane, because then you'd have wind damage and storm surge and this tremendous flood that looks like it's going to happen. This reminds me of North Carolina with Florence, when it was like, oh my goodness, this big Category 4 hurricane's coming, and then it weakened intensity-wise, the wind and the pressure. Well, the pressure was still down there pretty low in the 950s or so, but the wind dropped to about 90 miles per hour with Florence, and yet it's North Carolina's costliest hurricane ever, resulting in numerous deaths and over $20 billion in damage from flooding. So, this isn't a guarantee, but this is the guidance, and the guidance is suggesting a huge rain event, and if this bullseye right here moves over just a little bit closer to New Orleans, it could be a real big disaster in New Orleans. So we'll have to see. There's no way to really predict that. So I am going to be working into the night and setting up camera equipment and our weather stations. No matter what happens with this, we're here to do some work, test equipment, make sure equipment that we've been using continues to work properly, so forth and so on. But I'm really worried about that rainfall. I still think that could have a huge impact. Excuse me. Got a bubble in my throat. So pay attention to that. Please be careful out there as everything ramps up through tomorrow. And then in the day Saturday, this will be slow moving as it moves inland from the Gulf of Mexico. All right, that is it from me for tonight. Thanks for tuning in from whatever device you're watching and listening from. I am Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com. I'll talk to you some more tomorrow morning.